It's time again for Kato Reviews. I'm really excited about this one. I know today I'm looking good, feeling good, loving life. I hope you can say the same about yourself. Aside from this hair, I don't know what's going on. It's being really weird, but you know, sometimes when you're trying to grow your hair out, it gets a little weird. Who cares? Today, classic t-shirt, an APWF t-shirt. For those of you that may not know, APWF is the company I first started training with way back in 1999. And tying directly to what's going to happen today, the match that was sent in to me, this is one of the companies that I got to wrestle the guy that sent this over to me. So I'm excited about that. Just a quick update on the page. I got more lights coming in. I have a second microphone coming in. The reason for that second microphone is coming up pretty directly, starting next weekend, we have some interviews lined up. The first one's going to be Dr. Feelbad from RWA fame. He is the owner of RWA out there in West Newton, Pennsylvania. And we're going to get to sit down and talk to him. The following week, Chris LaRusso, who came through the KCW school here in Altoona, he recently had a match at Ring of Honor. We're going to discuss that, amongst other things. I'm really excited about what's coming up in the future. These interviews, I think, should be really fun, so hopefully we can start to do those on a regular basis. Maybe some of the guys that are far away, we could even get lined up to do some phone interviews and that type of thing, so let's see what happens there. So as I mentioned earlier, I have wrestled this guy a few times at APWF. I remember him wrestling out in Cleveland. I can't remember where all else. But today our match was sent in by Chris Hamrick. In this match, you are going to see Chris Hamrick, Tracy Smothers, John McChesney, and Jimmy Jacobs. All guys who have done way more in the business than me, and certainly when we're talking about guys like Chris Hamrick, who was just a stunning, amazing athlete, and for anybody that ever got to share a locker room with him or be in the ring with him, a ton of fun, really a great in-ring worker and a great in-ring wrestler, and of course Tracy Smothers. And if you don't know about Tracy Smothers, I encourage you, please take some time out of your day, read about Tracy Smothers. Learn about Tracy Smothers. Understand his contribution to the business. This guy is amazing. He's a worker's worker and really great. Respected all across the board at all levels of wrestling. This show was an IWC show. So, in 2004, when this match was taped, it was in front of a very smart crowd. They were cheering the bad guys and, again, cheering the good guys as well. Sometimes it's very important to know your audience. The match that may work in front of one crowd does not work in front of another crowd. This match in particular, though, probably would work in front of any crowd. So, I'm very excited. This is our first tag team match. Let's take a look at it. Let's go ahead and let's get started. There's the bell, the opening bell. We got Fabulous John McChesney in the ring with Chris Hamrick. Right off the bat, a big lockup. And you've heard me say before how important these lockups are. It may seem like such a small part, but it's not that small. It's really important.
Reputations of Hamrick and Smothers and Southern Comfort is very well known around these parts. The crowd seems pretty split 50-50.
A little bit of chain wrestling right off the bat.
Good chain wrestling there by Hamrick into a hammerlock on Fabulous. Hamrick and Smothers, a couple of great veterans from Tennessee. They've been all over the place, and the fans have a ton of respect for their ability, as well they should. Facing Fabulous and Jimmy Jacobs teaming for the first time.
Chris Hamrick, of course, just an insanely amazing athlete. Arm drag, arm drag, Japanese arm drag, leg sweep, kick. Both go for an arm drag. It's stopped. Classic ECW, Rob Van Dam, Jerry Lynn spot. The problem is, like, sometimes you get it like this, where guys can really do it, and it really worked. All too often I've seen on the indies where guys try to do this, and they're not good at it, and then they don't get the reaction. Then they don't understand why. If you're really good at this, like Hamrick is, you can get away with this spot. There's the old poke in the eye by Chris Hamrick. Now right here, Chris Hamrick can maybe check this out and tell me why this was okay. This is probably one of the few flaws that I didn't care for in the match. I like a poke in the eye to really mean something, to be sold for a while. Because if you've been poked in the eye for real, you know how much it can sort of stagger you and slow you down. So maybe Hamrick, if he has time, can tell me why I'm wrong on that.
Dropped right on to Hamrick by his partner Fabulous, and a 1 count.
I can't even get a word in edgewise. This is so
I mean, so simple. So simple. I mean, this crowd, it got a pop because it's so smart. But in most crowds, the idea of Smothers just walking away from the tag would have got him so much heel heat. It's so brilliant. I can't even begin to tell you how much I love that spot. This is my 3rd time watching this match, so I was a little bit prepared for it. But, I mean, in a lot of crowds, he would have got a coward chant and, just buried by the crowd. But when you're so good at being a bad guy, so good at being a heel, some crowds are just going to love you. That's just the reality of it. I love watching Tracy Smothers work. I think it's just so special and so magical.
Who seemingly knows no pain.
Slap to the face and a spit to the face.
All right, Jeff Foreman, help me out here. Jimmy Jacobs has purple boots. Smothers has no boots. What's the deal with that?
Well, I think that if Smothers feet get cold, he can rub up against
No doubt about who's the baby faces and who's working the heels here. I mean, which is important. You really have to establish, even in front of a crowd like that, let guys know who is who. Let the crowd know who's who. And our heel Southern Comfort has really done that.
Tracy with just so much charisma, so much talent, and back fist taking down Jimmy Jacobs. And Jacobs, one of the most popular guys we have here in the IWC. And Smothers is getting a lot of cheers here.
I can tell you, Smothers is so good. He faked me out. I thought we were in the heat already, but nope. Smothers, who is a consummate pro, shines up. I would assume he's still the young guy at this point. This is 2004, Jimmy Jacobs. So, I mean, yeah.
Well, Smothers doesn't care if the fans love him or hate him. He just wants to hear noise out of him. We got to talk about Fabulous too. The Hamrick coming in.
Couple double drop kicks, still shining up the baby faces. I guess the question I'd have for Hamrick is, let's say, I don't want to ruin the finish here, but you're going to see it soon enough. So, if Southern Comfort wasn't going over in this match, would they have shined up the baby faces quite as much? I guess, for me, I agree with this 100%. With Southern Comfort going over, this is clearly the right choice in my eyes. So, but I mean, guys, this is what we talked about. I mean, this is what you've heard me preach since I started doing these. Just the energy of the baby faces and the excitement in the baby faces, and that energy and that excitement is going to work every time. Every time. But here we go. Now we're in the. We're definitely in the heat here. Smothers cut him off as he was coming in the ring. There's no doubt about that. Now here comes Hamrick in. Oh, those are wicked chops. Let me just tell you from first-hand experience. I hope you could hear that. I know I turned down the volume a little bit on that so that the crowd doesn't drown out my voice, but that was that was something. If I had more time, I'd tell you a funny story about a chop that Hamrick gave me once. But it's not about me. Okay, so I saw this a little bit, and maybe Hamrick could tell me why I'm wrong about this one too. So we're in the heat. McChesney's getting his ass kicked a little bit, and he had this big long hope spot where he was sort of alive for a long time, where he sort of could have got for a tag there, as opposed to really kind of firing up. So. I'm just not sure, especially in a tag match, that I'm in love with that long of a hope spot.
And no, only 2.
Hamrick serving it up like Chicago pizza. That's a deep dish beating, baby.
And now a couple of feet ready for Fabulous.
I think we see that one more time where McChesney really kind of fires up a lot before he, you know, gets to the hot tag.
As they won a big 4-way dance to retain the ECW Tag Team title. I was there that night, made me proud to be a half-blood at the time.
I think we're in danger of this becoming a dance contest with Smothers out there.
Especially if Jacobs gets going. Here comes Fabulous.
Now this is a nice hope spot. Down, maybe position himself a little differently as opposed to standing up and walking toward his corner and turning around. If he'd have sort of, you know, sold away from his own corner and then got kicked in the face, like that's a much better hope spot in my eyes.
Baiting in Jacobs, who is not at all there mental capacity-wise, so Southern Comfort using their brains to the advantage.
All right, Hamrick slowing it down a bit here. My guess is that we're getting close to the end whenever we get to here.
Part of the hot commodity team in the ECW. Getting fired up and no, right back to the
You hear huge pop going back to the chin lock, which in 90% of buildings is going to work like a charm as a heel, but you know, it's just it's one of those crowds, and I'm not disparaging this crowd. To me, this is a fun crowd to get to wrestle in front of. Guys and girls that are there really just to have fun, and you know, look at that. Give me a break. What an athlete.
Fabulous dropping Hamrick right on his head. Hamrick able to come back.
This is that other longer type hope spot that we talked about. So I guess that's the question I'd have for Hamrick, if he has time to maybe explain the logic here of doing so much before we get cut him back off, instead of, like, I would have preferred maybe the babyface going for a tag there as opposed to that.
And down goes Fabulous. Smothers very happy. That'll give him the chance to get in. And you gotta wonder if, wow, Fabulous.
I'm not sure the spot. Maybe it could have went a little slower there for McChesney. Maybe let Tracy Smothers sort of, gloat a little bit. And I do like this. See how far away he is from his corner before he gets his hot tag? Make sure you got the separation you need before the hot tag.
And a purple furry boot for each competitor.
Here we go. Big fiery hot tag, which I love, of course.
Smothers misses. And he takes the boot. Jacobs has
Standing up, showing fire, which of course you guys have heard me say about. I love.
Hamrick going up top. Fabulous chops him down and drop kicks him. Meanwhile, it's Jacobs sending Smothers into the other corner for a clothesline. What's going on now?
Lost a little bit of fluidity here, but it's still, it was fine. It was fine.
Cover by Jacobs. And only 2. I tell you, Fabulous doesn't have a ton of wins here in the IWC, but he just looks better and better.
Here we go, going up for the double 10 count.
Anytime now.
Absolutely, and I'll tell you what, as the fans count along and hustle on,
There you go. Smothers dumps him over the top rope. Definite heel style. Cuts him off from behind.
And Smothers.
Do not look away. Pay attention. Pay attention. Oh my God. Ugh. Thank God I never took that. I did. My buddy Zubov took that once at the old KCW arena. Terrifying. But look, I mean, the crowd's happy. At the end of the day, that's what's most important. The crowd is really happy. Okay, so let's review. I want to talk a little bit about the match. If you don't want to hear my stupid voice over this, I encourage you to go back, look it up on YouTube, watch this match. There's a lot to be learned. There's a lot to be deciphered. And if you're just a fan, just go back and watch it, because it's a fun match. I mean, it's really fun to watch. I really liked it. I guess some of the questions I have were some of the hope spots I wouldn't have been in love with. I liked the shine. The fiery comeback was good. The finish was fine. I didn't have a lot of complaints. I did like that match a lot. I just want to talk briefly about what my idea on psychology is on tag team matches. This was sort of a more complex match. Maybe at some point we'll try to find a very simple tag team match, but a few of my pointers from tag team matches would be, first off, if you're going to cut somebody off for the heat, do it in a way that they wouldn't be able to do in a singles match. You know, use a 2-on-1 advantage somehow, some sort of distraction with the ref. Do something that they couldn't do in a singles match. That way you're just getting yourself distinguished from the other matches. Secondly, make sure whenever you come in off that hot tag, come in a house of fire. There's no build here as it would be in a singles match for a comeback. It's house of fire right now, and heel bump and feed fast, furiously, and often. Additionally, understand where you are in your experience and in your training. If you aren't great at transitions yet, if you aren't great at building momentum, don't be afraid to take it home off of the comeback. You don't have to do, 20 false finishes, because if your transitions aren't good, then your false finishes aren't going to mean anything. We didn't see any false finishes in that match, and that was fine because they just went home after the hot tag, or after the full hot tag. They had one falsie, and then they went home. You don't have to have a million finishes. So that's it for today. I really appreciate everybody tuning in. I super appreciate Chris Hamrick sending this link along. For those of you who are having bad matches, guys, girls, please stop having shitty matches. You are ruining my life.